If you've recently picked up a Sony a6700, you may be interested in buying a cage. So today we're going to be talking about 3 great options at 3 different price points with different features for each of them. So today we're going to be talking about 3 different cages. We've got one by Audiio or Falcam, the classic Smallrig, and a more affordable one by Neewer. And we're going to talk about them all. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of each, and which one you might want to pick up. And we're going to start with the most expensive, being the Falcam. Now, this is my first experience using Audiio's camera rigging accessories and their Falcam series. The main pro with the Falcam series of accessories is that they have their own proprietary quick release system that is actually really handy. So they make all of their own pieces, handles, monitor mounts, kind of basically anything you could think of, and it's all incredibly modular, very easy to use, and they've got their own unique sort of quick release system. So for example, it's got this little button on the top, so I can just slide a top handle on and it's locked into place. Most other systems like NATO rails or area locating pins, you have to slide it on, then lock it, or you got to screw a piece in. This is a very nice quick release system, and it works. It doesn't feel like it's going to break. It does connect very easily. And you can kind of just do whatever you want with it, which is quite nice. So any of their pieces that have these quick release, I think they're called the F22s. Yeah, the F22 plates, they all can connect to each other. So, I mean, you could put a top handle on there and attach, I mean, you could do whatever you want. Now on the bottom of the cage, it has one large plate here. This is a different one. So this isn't the F22, this is the F38 quick release system, which works with their own proprietary stuff, but it also works with Arca Swiss plates. But let's go ahead and we'll attach it to the camera and see what it looks like. So to attach this cage to the a6700, it's got one main screw on the bottom, and it does come with a tool that helps you attach them, but this is actually the only cage out of all 3 of these that we're going to talk about that the tool doesn't attach to the camera. All the other ones have magnetic pieces that just attach to the cage. This one does not. The battery door is uninterrupted, so we're going to talk a bit more about that later, but you can access the battery, no problem. You don't need to worry about moving a hinge out of the way or anything like that. So overall, the positives are it has some really nice accessories that have this really nice quick release system. The downsides, however, are, well, one, it doesn't have a sort of magnetic tool to go on the back of it. So I've lost the tool already because it doesn't stay on the camera cage. And then the other downside is that it only has one point of contact. All these other cages have multiple points of contact to sort of hold the camera in place. So I've attached the screw on the bottom pretty well, but the camera can still move inside the cage just a little bit. Not bad, but just a little bit. So if you are obsessed with having multiple contact points, this cage doesn't have it. And with it being the most expensive, you'd kind of hope that it would. But, would I recommend this overall? Yeah, I think the main people that this would work well for is people who haven't purchased other pieces yet. So, I've got 3 boxes of camera tools, right? Different handles, NATO rails, different attachments for different pieces. If you're brand new and you're willing to invest in this proprietary system, then this is great. The downside is it just feels a little bit redundant if you have a lot of other pieces. So if I was to take a top handle like this one, which is a NATO rail, I'm basically buying a cage that's designed to use with its own pieces that I would have to buy an extra NATO rail to attach on top. So that just feels a little bit redundant. So if you've got loads of accessories, loads of other pieces that you want to use on this camera, maybe don't go with the Falcam one. I'm not saying that it's bad, but I think it's going to be better for people who are willing to invest in an entirely new system, which might leave your old parts redundant. So that's up to you. If that's something you want to do, you want the quick release system, which I do like, then yeah, this is great. Other than that, if you want to stick with all of your old parts, I'd maybe just go with something a little cheaper. Next, let's talk about the old faithful Smallrig. This is a great little cage. It kind of ticks all the boxes and does everything well, but nothing amazingly, is kind of how I would describe this. It's got a lot of mounting points. It's very low profile. It fits on the camera well. I'll go ahead and just attach it. It has a magnetic tool that just sticks in the bottom like that. And unlike the Falcam, it has 2 points of contact. So it's got this small M2.5 screw that actually stays in the cage when you're not using it, and it will go through the little eye hole for the camera strap and into the camera cage. So this one has 2 points of contact and is very robust. So it's got this magnetic holder on the bottom. As for quick release options that are built onto the cage itself, it has a cold shoe that's at a sort of slight angle, which I quite like. It just sort of keeps things out of the way. I find it a little bit easier to rig up. It's got a NATO rail on the side. It's like a low profile NATO rail. And honestly, I like that it's here, but it doesn't do a whole lot. There's a lot of NATO rail attachments that don't work on this. Some that do, most of them don't. And then on the bottom, it has an Arca Swiss plate built in. So for any Arca Swiss plate, you can just slide it right on the side. It's completely unobstructed, so you don't have to load it in some awkward way. It'll just slide right on, which is very handy. Let's talk about the battery door for a second. This one, as well as the Neewer one, has been made in a way that the battery door won't open unless you swing this hinge out of the way. So, you know, they've fixed the problem of the battery door not opening, but clearly based off of the Falcam cage, that doesn't seem to be necessary. You know, this doesn't inhibit the access to the battery door at all, but they have gone out of the way to make sure that they've fixed a problem that they've kind of created with their own design. So, you know, that is what it is. Not the end of the world, but works pretty well. Now, obviously, the nice thing about Smallrig is they have just hundreds upon hundreds of accessories. They're a well-known brand. I think this one is $50 when on sale. Their stuff goes on sale all the time. So it's a well-known brand. There are hundreds upon hundreds of accessories you can use with this. Very easy to use, easy to modify, adding whatever pieces that you want. It's kind of bare bones. You know, so it has a cold shoe mount and a NATO on the side and an Arca Swiss. That's it. So, you know, if you like the company, Smallrig, you trust them and you want to go with them, then this is a great option. As for the negatives, I would say the battery door is just a little annoying, having to put this hinge in and out. It's not the end of the world, but you know, now that I've used a cage that doesn't have that, it's clearly not necessary if they just built it a little bit differently. But, you know, it's there, so, you know, what can you do? And I also wish that on the top, there was a built-in NATO rail. I don't really know why there's not. There's plenty of space for it. They put one on the Neewer cage that we're going to talk about next, so it'd be nice if there was one there, but there's not. Not the end of the world. Now, it also comes with a cable clamp. I have, unfortunately, this is kind of like the theme of today, I've lost the cable clamp for this one, but it worked really well. Once you take it off, it's so small and finicky that it's very easy to lose, but, you know, it's nice to have. But, you know, if whenever you buy this, it does come with a little cable clamp that works really well and doesn't get in the way of anything. It just works. So overall, good cage, nothing crazy, but nothing bad, just works pretty well. Now, the last cage that we're going to talk about is this one by Neewer. Now, Neewer is kind of has been known for making a lot of budget camera equipment, and for the longest time, I don't think they had the reputation that they maybe wanted. You know, it's affordable, but for a long time, I think they were known as cheap for a reason. I think that's beginning to change. I think we're starting to see some really good products coming from them, and I'm really excited to see where they go. Them and Viltrox. I'm not really talking about Viltrox today, but that's another company that I've been really impressed with recently. I think they're coming a long way. So like the Smallrig cage, it comes with its own little tool that magnetically attaches to the bottom of the camera, and it's actually very similar to the Smallrig cage. As for the pros, kind of like the Smallrig cage, it has 2 points of contact. Actually, it has 3, but we're going to talk about that in a second. You know, it's got the same screw that stays in the camera cage until you attach it through the eye hole over here, and then also has a cool little sliding piece over here that you can lock into place as a 3rd point of contact. So compared to the Smallrig one, which has 2 points of contact, one on the right hand side and one on the bottom, this one actually has 3. So the cheapest one has 3 points of contact, the most expensive one has 1. So for some reason that seems to be working backwards, but overall, you know, they're nice to have. So I only tend to use 2. 3's a little overkill for me, but there we are. Just like the Smallrig cage, it has a cold chute on the top. I wish it was at an angle like the Smallrig one was, but it is not. That's okay. Not the end of the world. And on the top, it has plenty of mounting options. It's got a 3/8 thread, lots of 1/4-20 threads, but unlike the Smallrig one, it actually has a built-in NATO rail. So if you have a NATO rail piece, you can actually just attach that straight to the cage. You don't need to add extra accessories. That'll save you an extra $10 right there to not have to buy a NATO rail. Seems, I know it's small, but every little, you know, $10 amount that you can save is worth saving. And again, just like the Smallrig one, on the side it's got a NATO rail, but there's not a huge amount of space or clearance here, so it stops you being able to open your ports. So I probably wouldn't use the NATO rail on the side, but it is nice to have just in case. And again, just like the Smallrig option, it has an Arca Swiss plate on the bottom, and it has a little hinge for the battery door. So very, very similar. Not a whole lot extra to say. The one thing I will say about this cage that the Smallrig one does better is the cable clamp on this cage blocks the SD card port, which is really silly in my opinion. They could have done this a different way, but you know, I'm basically not going to use this clamp because I need access to the SD card slot. So I don't want to have to take this off every single time I want to put an SD card in there. But that's up to you. If you want to keep it on there, keep it on there, not the end of the world. But overall, for it being the cheapest of the three, you know, and again, we're only talking $20 or $30 here, cheaper, overall, it actually has the most to offer. It has a cable clamp. I'm not going to use that, but it has it. It's got an Arca Swiss plate, which is more usable than, you know, Falcam stuff, which is more proprietary. You know, if you have all of that stuff, then that's going to be more useful. It's got 3 points of contact. It's got a NATO rail built into the top and on the side. It kind of has the most features out of all of them and is the cheapest. But in the end, it's kind of up to you. What do you want to go with? Would you rather stick with the reputable brand, something like Smallrig that have tons of accessories? Would you rather go with something like the Falcam, which have more proprietary systems to them and kind of looks the best, if I'm honest, and is actually really robust? And kind of cool? Or maybe go with the cheaper option, and which actually seems to come with the most amount of features. But ultimately, it's up to you. I hope that this is helpful. I mean, all of these are good options. I wouldn't talk about these products if I didn't recommend them, unless it was this video here. These are all good options, and you just have to weigh up which one is going to be best for you. For me, whenever I'm rigging up the camera, I actually think I'm going to use the Neewer one, mainly because I like that it's got that built-in NATO rail on the top. That's just really handy. One less point of things that I have to add to the rig. But if you need a cable clamp, and that's one of your big concerns, I'd go with the Smallrig one because it's got one that doesn't prohibit access to the SD card slot. Or if you want to just go with a newcomer, you're not worried about 2 points of contact, but you really like their accessories, these new handles and this new proprietary quick release system, then the Falcam is going to be the one for you. But I want to hear your thoughts down below. What do you think out of these three? What are the most important things that you look for in a camera cage when you're adding a lot of accessories? These are not small decisions to make because, again, you could rig your camera up to be whatever you want it to be. So you want to make sure that the foundation of your rig is a good foundation. So I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, which one is going to be right for you. And I hope that this video has been helpful to you. If it has, hit the like button. It really helps with engagement. Drop a comment down below, or maybe even subscribe as we continue to build this channel. I appreciate all of you for doing so, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.